Let's talk about the egg. No, seriously, let's talk about the egg. Because somehow, making an egg-shaped object has become one of the most powerful graphic design moves I've seen in a very long time. And I am saying that as someone who did design an egg-shaped logo and then got gifted a perfume that looked suspiciously a lot like my own work. So today, we are doing a full graphic designer deep dive into the brand Tamburins, their packaging, their symbolism, and why the egg isn't random. It's not something that's quirky just for the sake of being quirky. And it is absolutely not an accident. Here's the backstory. My boss gifted me a Tamburins perfume because the packaging, it reminded them of a logo I made. Egg-shaped logo. And the moment that I held it, I had a very specific designer moment of, okay, they get it. Because Tamburins doesn't just use the egg shape. They commit to it. The weight, the tactility, the restraint. And they knew it wasn't just cool packaging. It's actually conceptual design. From a branding standpoint, it immediately does a few things. It disarms you. It feels organic. It rejects things like sharpness, aggression, hierarchy. And most perfume brands, they lean into power, seduction, status, oftentimes very gendered energy. And Tamburins does the exact opposite of that. The egg is soft, neutral, universal. It doesn't demand attention, it invites curiosity. And that already tells you a lot about the brand. Across cultures, the egg symbolizes something very specific. Creation, potential, beginnings, transformation. An egg isn't the final form. It symbolizes the promise of something, and that it lines up perfectly with Tamburin's standpoint on being a sensory brand, not just a fragrance brand. They are not saying this is who you are. They are saying this is who you're becoming, and that distinction, it matters. And this is where I pause, because I didn't just recognize the egg as a viewer. I recognized it as a designer who made the same exact decision. The egg-shaped logo that my boss was referencing was originally created for a brand that relies on geometric shapes and sharp lines. Very structured, very controlled. But this particular program within the brand, it needed to feel different. It needed to feel nurturing, organic, human. So instead of reinforcing sharp geometry, I intentionally broke it. I chose the egg because it softened the entire visual system. It introduced care, protection, a sense of being held, and that kind of contrast, it was my strategy. And that's why I was so beyond ecstatic when that concept was the one that was chosen. The egg, it wasn't there to replace the brand's geometry. It is there to coexist with it. When everything is angular, something organic like an egg, it becomes emotionally louder. Even if it's something that's visually quieter, it signals that this space operates a bit differently. And that's not aesthetic intuition, that's actually brand logic. And no, the egg wasn't perfectly centered. I placed the egg at an asymmetrical angle on purpose, because the rest of the brand, it already embraces asymmetry in layouts and movement. So that was a subtle way for the egg to belong inside that system, not fight it. A perfectly centered egg, it would have felt too static, too precious. Tilting the egg, it gave it life. It made it feel more active, not decorative. So when I picked up Tamburin's bottle, it felt like the same logic. This, it's an organic form. It's restraint. It's confidence. And it's something that clicked for me instantly. This right here, it isn't a trend-driven design. This is a value-driven design. Both use the egg not as a gimmick, but as a very powerful signal. A signal that says this is a space where something grows. Okay, now let's continue talking about Tamburins as a brand. Tamburins pairs this organic form with really restrained typography. Not shouting, not decorative, not overcompensation. It's typography that whispers because the form, it already speaks. And it tells me the designers behind this brand realize something crucial. When the concept is strong, everything else could step back. This is where Tamburins really wins. The packaging, it isn't just a container. It's a ritual object. You don't toss it. You don't immediately label it as perfume. You hold it, you rotate it, you feel the weight. And that interaction, it creates memory. And memory is branding. Right now, we're in an era of hyper-polished design, AI perfect symmetry, overly explained concepts. And Tamburins chose something that's imperfect, human, bodily. The egg feels vulnerable. And in this day and age, vulnerability stands out. Tamburins didn't choose the egg because they thought it was cute. They chose it because it communicates transformation. It invites touch and it rejects hierarchy. And it aligns perfectly with their philosophy. This is a brand that trusts the audience. This is a brand with packaging that doesn't beg to be understood. And the most important fact of all, this is a brand that knows who they are. So yeah, sometimes the most powerful brand move isn't a new font or a trend cycle. Sometimes it's just an egg. But okay guys, that's all I have for you today. This video hit me on a very personal level and I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, go ahead and give this video a like, subscribe for more video content just like this because I make videos every single week, and I'll catch you in the next one. See you next time. Bye.